Hey, EngX people.
Hi,
I'm here
Nikita.
to greet you on the coffee break with our EngX experts. So have you brought your coffee? I have one. What about you guys? Unfortunately, I don't have any cookies with me, but probably you do because I don't. I'm on a diet. Sorry.
No,
By
I
the
don't
way,
have a
you can
cookie,
drop us.
but I can
Yeah,
speak and
sorry.
play.
Okay, fine. What you're playing?
I don't know. Something
All
very
right.
good.
So I want you guys to drop us a couple of lines in the comments, whether you have any cookie with you or something. Probably someone is having lunch or stuff like that. So that would be a good addition to our coffee. So first of all, I would like to introduce our experts. So this is Alexander Gushin. Alexander, can you say a couple of words about yourself?
Hi, Nikita. Thank you. I'm in IT for a long time, more than 20 years, playing different roles like a developer, data analyst, manager, and other stuff. And last years, I focus on engineering practices and play a role of EngX expert in EPAM, analyzing, improving, and recommending improvements for multiple accounts and multiple projects. So I'm glad to share my experience. I'm glad to listen for challengeable questions from the auditory. Hope I will bring some value for somebody on this call.
Right. Thank you, Alexander. Grigori, what about you?
Yep.
What should the auditorium know about you?
Yeah, like Alexander, I'm more than 20 years in IT, and my background is I'm starting from the software development. Basically, I love to develop a code, really write the code. But like Alexander, I moved to delivery, to product, to work with the client, to tune the processes within the team, to improve the processes, to reduce inefficiencies. So I joined to Engineering Excellence program. So currently I'm working in a continuous improvement program, like it's a subunit in the Engineering Excellence. And together with Alexander, we are going to make this world much more better.
Cool. So probably all the people have already seen that we have some different formats and some interesting conceptions implemented in this conference. So what I propose you to do together with us today is to have a coffee break with a little bit of something interesting. So I want to ask our fairy to appear on the screen and bring us the attraction of basically this coffee break. So can we see the wheel? Yep. Cool. So we have the wheel. This wheel, so I have to tell you a couple of words about our concept, right? So we have collected the questions from all of you guys. You had an ability to share them with us earlier. You have still this ability in the chat right there, right? You can either ask it in the Q&A section or drop it in the chat, and we will take some time to answer them too. So what is this wheel? So those are your questions, and we're going to spin it and answer the question that would appear on our screen. So are you ready? Grigory, Alexander, let's
You're
try.
asking us?
Sure,
Yes.
let's start.
All
We'll
right,
do some magic.
let's do it. Yeah, I do the magic. Was the first one. It's spinning. They see me rolling. Okay, so the first question is it really dangerous and forbidden to use Copilot-like tools for development on the project? So we're entering with the first and the probably most interesting question about the AI technologies that can be used on the project. What do you guys think about it?
Who starts? Alexander.
So,
Alexander, go ahead.
So just a short introduction. It seems to me like the questions are related to the very new area for us, and artificial intelligence tools, which assists for development processes, very new for all of us, including engineering excellence team. And from my point of view, Copilot tool is not a dangerous. This is the same tool which we use, or likely tool which we use in our daily routine last years. Like any assistance which can bring a value for developer or for somebody else. So from my opinion, there is no danger at all to use the tool. There is a danger to put some expectation, significant expectation to the tool, to assume the tool will completely replace the people, the person, and will do some work instead of you. It may help you to do the work, and you need to account Copilot as a set of very junior developers who are ready to help you, who are ready to provide some code which may be not very relevant for you. And if you are experienced enough to understand it, to read it, to choose the right solution very fast, then yes, it will help you and it's not dangerous for you. Otherwise, if you completely, rely on the output of Copilot, maybe your personal hard skills will be degrading.
Yeah, and fully agree. But look, there's a different meanings of the dangerous. What does it mean, dangerous? It's a dangerous that you are going to lose something. It will provide you some output that you are not going to use, or it will harm your code somehow, or it's a dangerous because someone else can get an access to your legacy, to your code. So the Copilot, this company who produced this software, can get an access to your code. So let's understand and let's distill these things. What does it mean, the dangerous? If we are talking about,
I can help you.
Yeah.
Let me try to help you. Let's start with the privacy thing, because this is the most hyped, the most hyped danger like around AI tools.
Yeah. Let's start from the privacy. Exactly. That's what I'm meaning. That we need to address this question. Is that secure or not? Are we going to share something to the producer, this tool producer, or any other tool producer? Because so many tools are there that people are using. So look, recently Copilot updated their policies. How was the Copilot basically? We sent a bunch of the code to the Copilot server. It reads the context, understand the context, and provide some prompting. So we may have a question. Do they keep this bunch of the code on the servers and how they are using it? So recently Copilot updated their policies. As they put in the policies in the licensing agreement, they remove that code immediately. So that's what they are telling you that. So if you are going to communicate to your clients, to your colleagues who are going to use this Copilot, please refer to this policy. This is officially all the release on their website. So they are going to remove it. But if we are talking about if it's dangerous to use, how we can trust the code that is generated by the Copilot, look, it's like we have a hammer and nails in our hands when we have a power drill in our hands. So it helps us to make our work faster and better and with a better quality. But again, we need to put some efforts to do the things right. It doesn't matter that we are not we are going to use its prompts as is. No, we have to verify them, we have to validate them, we have to carefully review them. So this is how can I in my understanding, how can I address this question? So is this dangerous or not? No, it's not dangerous, but you have to be careful. You have to verify, you have to validate. Either it's a Java code, it's a SQL code, it's a front-end code, everything. You have to review like you are reviewing your code, your colleague's code during the process. Of course, it helps. It speeding your process, it provide you better quality, but you need, every time you need to review what are you doing. That's what I will tell about the dangerous.
Right. What about another one? So companies that have created those AI tools like Copilot and others, they claim that those tools were taught on the open source projects, right? And
Yes.
open source projects have different licenses. So the tricky question here would be, who should we consider the owner of the code if this code that you have written with the help with the AI generated?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Look how the Copilot works. I assume all developers know, but who don't know how it works. Once the Copilot generates the bunch of the codes, it becomes yours. There is no any reference what it's prompted to you, what it generates to you, and any like bunch of the information on their server. So there is no link. Once it generates for you the bunch of the code, it becomes yours. That's it. Even in the next time, if you will ask or type the same thing, the Copilot may generate totally another bunch of the code. So any generated piece of code becomes yours. And if
okay, fine.
Yeah,
what you can say, Alexander? What do you think? Can you relate?
Just support Grigory and say the same. Actually, my very primary assumption, it may be some discussion in between, the owner of the initial code, which is used for Copilot training, up to the Copilot author. But it's not an issue, I assume, because they primarily used open source data. Open source means that anybody may have an access to that. But in future, it may be cases when such tools, may create something very likely to something else. And yes, the question about outer may be in place.
Yeah, I totally lose the root question. Sorry, I'd like to address this, Nikita. If you mean that, if you mean the open source code, that like a source that we are using for the prompting, of course, it use their repository, right? They are using their repository, that they have the source codes in their repository.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. So if you guys over there behind the screen have any other questions related to AI tools, please drop them in the chat. I'm just reminding you that you have an option to do so. All right, let's go to another question. Spin the wheel, our magical fairy. All right, another one. So now we don't have security, neither security nor performance checks in our pipeline, and the client is not ready to spend money for that. Do we have any options other than just waiting? How can we persuade our customer? I'm adding to the question from my side. How can we persuade our customer that performance and security checks are very important for the overall pipeline?
One point, I will take it when I will pass to Alexander. Look, very important is to understand in which domain, in which sector you are working. Let's say if you are working in a healthcare, in a finance, when there are strict policies and the rules you have to apply, you cannot avoid them. So I assume that if we are working in such domains, this is something that we have to comply with this policies. We cannot just avoid them. So if we are facing with this case, we have to make it clear for our customer, for our client, that look, there are the policies for the security checks. We are going to hold like a personal data. we are going to hold some personal information, and here are the security policies that we need to comply with them, and we cannot avoid them. This is the one case. The totally another case, if we are not working in some specific sector, let's say healthcare or finance, but we still need to have a security quality gates to check the security, because let's say we are keeping, again, some personal data or some financial data, but it's not related to some specific health or finance organization. And we can make it clear for the client, we can communicate like consequences to not having these security policies. What will happen, let's say, let's take this from the risk perspective. What will happen if we will, if the leakage will happen in our software? What will happen if we will lose some piece of the information from our software? How does it impact on our organization if we are not taking it serious? What will happen if someone will get an access to our environment and like stole all our data? So from this perspective, maybe from an engineering excellence perspective, we can share this list of the risks, like a consequences that you may have or your clients may have, and you can use it to communicate properly with your client. And maybe this can help you, if that's the case, that can help you to communicate with your client better. But I assume that Alexander also have something to add here.
Actually, it's really hard to imagine some business which is a global, which is a EPAM client, and such business doesn't have some personal or business sensitive data. So my assumption is that the performance checks, security checks are mandatory for pretty much all pipelines for our clients. And if client is not ready to contribute, to spend the money to that, maybe different reasons behind of the scene. For example, client just don't understand the reasons about that. And as Grigory mentioned, we need to prepare the information for them, provide them some input about the potential risks, potential cost, potential return on investment, and help them to prevent money losing in nearest future. Because I'm not even talking help them to prevent potential risks. I'm talking about we will have an issue in future, definitely. The question is only when. So that's why the simplest way is to talk to the client about the reality, about what we are checking right now for their application, how we protect their business in terms of performance, in terms of security, or any other kind of the non-functional requirements, non-functional specific requirements, and explain what can happen if they not follow the best practices. In most cases, it's enough to compare budget for implementing performance checks or security checks or something else to the budget which can be lost by the company.
Yeah,
and such comparison is all the time, help to make the decision to implement the right practices. However, you may talk to the incorrect person on client side, because such person may not have a knowledge or may not be responsible for the business risks. So somehow you need to bring this message to the proper people on client side for the right decision.
Yeah, and let me add something else. If you are working on a product, let's say, if you are working on a product, I assume you're tracking some product metrics. Let's say like daily active users or monthly active users or churn rate. So you can like compare this information if you have a bad performance, or if if you have a bad performance of your software, of your product, your application, how does it impact on the churn rate of your users? So there's many ways how we can like draw the links between the metrics, then some measurability. We can address this question if we can bring some measurability and talk to clients with the measures, with the metrics, with the numbers. That could help us.
Yeah, I would also like to add, if you will. So from my perspective, security and performance are the things that if they fail, they bring the biggest reputational losses to the company. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, and if that won't persuade your client, then probably you should let him fail once.
Maybe it's not a good idea because such reputation loss on the client side, it's also a EPAM reputation loss. So my personal recommendation is to don't let client fail, but instead communicate it more clear, precise with the numbers, with the assistance from EngX team.
Yeah, but I understand your point, Nikita. You are going in a hard way. If you don't understand, you need to understand.
Yeah, it's the easiest way. I mean, if you can persuade a person with something, with some, as you have mentioned, with numbers.
You just punch them face, and that's it.
You just don't do anything. You let them fail, and that's okay. People sometimes have to fail to open another chapter.
You have to warn them. You have to have these artifacts. You have to warn them all those risks to understand, because it's if it happens, it should not be without any consequences for them.
Absolutely. So you bring all the information. If that doesn't help, then you can help. All right. Cool. This one was really good. Fairy tale, spinning the wheel. Cool. What level of unit test coverage is enough? Cool. So this is from my career that lasts like, I can't even count that much. This was the question for like last probably 10 years. This was the discussion. How much is enough of unit testing?
Enough is enough.
Yeah, because it depends, it depends, because some products, some companies, they aim to 100%. From I will share just my experience. Sometimes companies choose to go for Pareto principle, right? That like 80% is enough. So what would you say? When should which percentage be used?
So the very simple question, there is no exact answer on this question. It depends. It really depends on the current ecosystem, on the current environment, on maturity of the processes, on availability of other, quality gates, on the business domain of the application, etc. As a basement, you may use 80% as a very general guidance for you. Because in most cases it's very expensive to have 100% coverage for unit testing, and at the same time it's a high risk to let some business functionality bugs leak to production if you have less than this number. However, once again, it should be a balance between different types of the testing, and unit testing coverage depends on integration testing, on component testing, and other kinds of the testing, including, for example, end-to-end UI testing. So that's why there is no exact answer. Maybe 80% may be used as a guidance.
Okay, let's. I will try to get the exact answer. So sorry, guys. Let's imagine ourselves that we're developing, for example, some components library, or some, I don't know, some other library that would be highly dependent on in the code. So in this case, do we need 100% coverage?
So I would support really close to 100% coverage, because you are talking about the core, about components, about the dependencies, and high coverage may significantly help you for future development, for future delivery, and prevent a lot of risks from you. At the same time, if you design some specific application with a short living time, maybe a coverage could be less than that. Because at the moment, unit testing is a time-consuming operation which takes time from development team, and for sure it brings a value. It increases the maintainability and reliability of the application. However, it takes time. And you need to find a balance for you, how much to contribute to the unit testing in comparison to the value you may take from that.
Yeah, may I add something? Thank you. Look,
Yeah.
I have a one like very. Let me give you a stupid example from my personal experience in a from past. Like we had an experience where we had a service which was written, let's say, years ago. No one is going to change that. There was a low coverage or high coverage. Sorry, it was about 70%. And we had another microservice, and no one touched this service. No one. It worked very well for years. And we had another service who we were developing features every day, every month on that service. And the coverage on that service was pretty high, let's say more than 80%. But we had have a lot of bugs there because there is that was an integration point, this service. We were using that for the integration point. And even having more than 80%, we still have a bugs. But at some point, I don't know who and why decided that we have to put increase all underperformed services at least for the 80%. And they will start to write and increase coverage rate for the service who is not one going to change. And it was for the years to increase the service up to 80%. But while this is another service that we are calling more frequently is more than 80%, but we have still issues there. So to answer this, I assume that yes, the industry tells us that this 80% is the good benefit, right? Between the efforts and a good balance between efforts and benefits. But what I learned from my personal experience that you have to cover your critical paths. You have to cover your critical paths, basically, like your integration points, the services that you are changing so frequently, and everyone is using those services or this part of your code. So you have to keep eye on those parts, but not just to keep everything because this industry says that this is the standard. Because maybe you are using something that no one going to change it, and it works.
I fully support you. I absolutely agree with you, and this is really practical to analyze how often some part of application may change, and to keep a coverage in accordance with that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have one thing to say that we are mixing unit tests with I don't know, some other testing type, because
No.
you shouldn't take probably the critical path, because unit test is testing of a unit, right, or some, I don't know, function service that is being used. So how to identify what are the most important things in terms of units to be tested?
Like you look at the usage. If you are using this service too much and everyone use this service or some piece of your code, and this is the important, because actually if you have this like a topology and you see all those links between your many services, and you know that other services use some like the given service more frequently, and there is a many operations in this service, of course you need to cover it as much as you can. Let's say you are working in in a financial or in a data analysis application, and you are transforming some data. You are changing this data and you are working with data. Let's say you are transforming financial data. Of course, you have to keep eye on this service. This is because this is the important, let's say. But if you have let's say, authentication services, they cover it pretty much well, and it works very well. There is not any issues comes from there. You are not going to change it. Let first fix the things that we are using more frequently for our operations and increase the coverage.
Okay, so let's say the numbers. So 50% is enough. I know that it depends. I know, guys, but you have to say the number. You have to say something.
industry said 80%, from 70 to 80%. Industry said from 70 to 80%, because it's a good balance between your efforts and your benefits
outcomes.
that you can. Yeah, outcomes. That's what industry said, because it says that your 80% of your code is covered and testable. And if you are going to something change, at least you know that 80% will not be hard.
Okay, that's fine. So you agree with the industry standards, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? But we have to spin the wheel.
We give you context. We gave you more context. You're just not referring to the industry. We give you context that you may have different situations, and you need to consider this. Yeah.
Our goal is to
let's spin the wheel.
Our goal is to make sure that you make a decision about the coverage, not just blindly following the industry standard, but understanding why and when do you need higher or lower coverage. That's it.
All right. So this is the hot topic. This is very hot. So let's jump to another one. Okay. So I'm personally, and a few other developers are supporting unit test practice. Okay, again, unit tests. And others are not. I don't have a support from the lead and PM to enforce unit testing coverage as a part of code review. What can I do?
Yeah. I will say,
how can we enforce it if we don't have power? So this is the question that we're dealing with like every day.
We had a similar question, not about the unit test, but how to argue and communicate with your manager, your customer, with the clients. And at that time I said, talk with numbers. Like, why they are disagree? Because they don't understand. Like Alexander said that. Talk to them, listen to them. Why they don't disagree? Maybe they have some opinion. Maybe there's some reasons behind it. But from my perspective, I will try to understand why they don't want, and I will try to argue with the numbers. Let's say if you would like to write this unit test, but you have so little amount of bugs in some particular services, but you insist, no, I want to write a unit test, and someone say, maybe they have some reason, let's say, for you.
What if they don't? What if they are just lazy? Come on.
If they don't, when you can bring these numbers to them, you can tell them, look, we are developing so frequently features on them. You put these numbers of the features. You can put the numbers about the bugs and the defects you are finding. You can put the numbers if you have some defects that are coming to production. So you can talk to the numbers. You can convert it to the time. Look how much time we are spending to fixing those issues, because we don't cover them with the unit test, and we not find them on earlier stage. So as soon as we can find those issues, as less time we are going to spend, because if some issue we will handle at later stage, so we lose this time, and we are going to run this time one more time. So I will talk with the numbers. I will bring all the metrics. We have these metrics in the engineering excellence framework, and we can share these metrics with you, so you can use them to communicate with your managers, your clients, why this is important. And
okay, cool. So from the top, sorry, I have to interrupt you. From the top of your head, so what are the things that have to be checked, in the first place when you don't have, or for example, when you have unit test problems, right? So what would appear?
Yeah, I will pass it to Alexander Gushin, because I see from his eyes he would like to say something, but I'm talking.
First of all, your very basic business logic may be failed with any change to your code. And it means that if you bring new line, if you bring new symbol to your code, your application may fail somewhere, which in the scenario which you are not thinking about. If you have a good unit testing coverage, in most cases it will be catched by unit test right immediately, and you will know about the problem and fix it right immediately. on the other hand, if you don't follow unit testing practice, you will put this effort to quality assurance team, to functional testing, to test automation, etc., and maybe even to production to end users. So that's why your cycle time, your time to have a feedback about your mistake, about your error, will be much longer than with unit test, and the cost of your mistake will be extremely high. So that's why unit testing is needed, and it should be brought to, it should be explained to all engineers in the team, not only to engineers, but also to managers. And the same about any other practice. We are talking about unit testing right now, but in general, think that there are a lot of good practices related to engineering, and you may think that any of those practices are covering some risks. And you may always ask yourself, what will happen if you don't follow the practice? How much it will cost me in future? Each kind of the missed practice or bad practice means that you will put the cost to the future. You will face the issues in future. You will increase the complexity of your work right in the next day or in the next week or in a month. So that's why it's a good idea to think in advance, to act in advance, and to prevent the risks in advance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. But what if we are in the situation that it doesn't work like that, right? So in this case, we have a person that tries to convince other team or teammates to adopt unit testing, right? So and in this case, I don't think that the usual like things like let's take a look on something would work. Can we specify something like specific? So if you are not using unit testing, you will, I don't know, your bug growth would be bigger. You will have some production defects.
Yeah, you will spend about 40% or 50% of your time for bug fixing in a year. This is very simple. This is very generic, but this is an answer on your question. If you are following unit testing as a practice, you will spend much less time in the future for bug fixing. This is very simple. You will create instead of fix.
All right. All right.
Your technical depth and quality depth will increase.
Right, and that's why you will need
if
to
you
spend
track
time
it.
in future.
If you track it, this is very important.
And if it's even simpler, it doesn't matter track or you don't track technical depth. It will affect your life. It will change the list of your tasks in your backlog. You will work on the bug fixes. You will work on the immediate something, I don't know, firefighting with production issues instead of creating new value. That's it.
Okay, fine. So I think that's enough for unit tests for today. I hope so. Okay, so the wheel tells us that the second question is, all right, we will respin it. Fine, let's do it. Oh, how to stop solving clients' tasks during non-business hours? Like, seriously, you ask an engineering excellence?
No way.
Let's try to answer.
If you ask these questions, you are going to solve client issues during the non-working hours. Well,
okay, it's fine. It's fine. Still, we have like how many managers here? Let's try to answer. It's a valid question. So it's about work-life balance. Let's do it.
Actually, I assume this is the worst auditory for this question because every one of us, spent time solving client tasks and team tasks during not only business but non-business hours as well.
Talk for yourself. Talk for yourself.
No, but really, this is a good question because yes, it's a work and life balance. But how we can make it clear for our customer, for our client, that we have a business hours, we are working peacetime. Maybe we can change the way of communicating with them. They are receiving the tasks like issues or communication topics. I don't know. Maybe we are receiving it on the last minute, and we need to change the ways of working, how we are working with the client, like try to brief the agenda, like organize and manage the meetings that we are going to do, to put some practices or processes to our communication. Because from engineering excellence perspective, Sasha and me personally, we are looking in deep dive to the processes, right? Because we understand that there is an issue in the process. From the engineering perspective, there is an issue in the process. Even if different units working very well, if they are not working in a well-defined process, we still will have an issue. So we are looking to the process. But again, this is the also process. This is the process of the communication, process of the passing the information from one person to another person. How we can like set up this safe environment for us and for the client, so he can be sure that we are going to do something, but we can be sure that we are going to do only those things in this specified amount of the time. There are so many like layers, and for this question, so many layers. How we are, what past performance or past experience have this client? Maybe you're new here, maybe you are like not new here. How your other colleagues work with this client? How the development team works with this client? How you manage teamwork? So many layers there. But I assume that the best answer is to be like to set up really procedure and process how to communicate with the client and make it clear to him that this is your time, and unfortunately you cannot answer, and I'm going to do this work tomorrow or day after. Look, if you think that if you will tell them this and they'll tell no, I need this today, try it, and you will realize that there is no issue. It's like a very common issue when everyone submits a ticket with the high priority, and they are submit tickets with 5 tickets, and all 5 tickets they're high priority. If all tickets have high priority, when there's a no priority, because the priority is equal, you know. So yeah, but I like this question, and I would like to communicate privately for this question with the person who asked this.
And
Person who
Grigori,
asked this question, if you're watching us, please drop Grigori a message. He would like to talk to you personally. By the way, Alexander, before you tell us something, we have a great comment in our chat. So we're discussing how to stop solving clients' tasks, and we have a comment that somewhere on the other kind of events, managers are discussing topics like how to get more from employees without paying for it. So this is also very funny. Thank you for.
I don't see this chat.
This joke.
Actually, Nikita, let me.
I do. I will read you.
Let me provide some update about this question. When I joined EPAM, very first my project, the team spent a lot of time overtime, working at non-business hours, solving the client problem. And maybe the answer is related to the fact that we implemented a lot of engineering practices during few months all together with our team and client. And we normalized our delivery. We did very regular delivery to production and decreased the number of bugs in production 13 times. That's why our overtime just disappeared. So maybe this is an answer. Just guys, fix your processes, fix your delivery, avoid the risks, and that's why you won't have tasks related, the tasks from client for non-business hours.
Yeah, but I really would like to communicate with this person. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Let's spin the wheel, and while the wheel is spinning, I will tell my point of view on this thing. So it also depends on what role are you having in the company right now. Because if you are a developer, then the answer probably would be that you can talk to your manager, to your lead, right, and highlight this question, and you can solve it together. If you are a manager and you are solving clients' tasks in non-business hours, then you have to probably manage customers' expectations, probably to pay more attention on your work-life balance and gracefully protect your time off, because you know, it is also very important to have some rest, right? Okay, so the next question that we're having. So how does EngX ensure that its certification processes remain up to date and aligned with the evolving demands of the software engineering industry? 100% good question. Grigory, this one is for you, specifically.
Yeah, it's a top question. Well, first of all, EPAM is a great place to work because there are so many competency centers and disciplines. There are people who are like responsible for the architecture. There are the people who are responsible for agile, for product management. They are adopting on time every new innovation or every new trend that there is an in industry in the world. Let's say AI. We know that their AI is a new tool. And what do the EngX? We do some experiments and we adopt and we put this program to the engineering excellence. We run the experiment and we understand how to run this process and adopt these tools for every engineering team of the organization, how to measure it, how to build this success, let's say. So just one single example to you. So from our perspective, we work with these competency centers. We work with the product, with the architecture, with testing, with the security. We review our framework with them. We ensure that we are using their recent, let's say, approaches in the industry. But that's not only to get this information and use the information to make your framework better. No, we have to become better ourselves. So we have our own agenda. So we added ROI calculation to the engineering excellence program. In other words, when we work with the team, we understand how much time they are wasting in the delivery process. So we can tune these time and the activities to money. And from this perspective, we look that we can increase, let's say, the throughput and increase the stability of the processes and the software. So this is the one thing that we are working with the competency centers. The another thing that we are developing the features in our product that will bring more value to our clients and to our colleagues so they can communicate this with their client. We are integrating with EPAM ecosystem. Right now, we are in this process. We are integrating the EPAM ecosystem to make it available for everyone in the EPAM. Let's say everyone can use these tools, of course, with us. So we are integrating to the Prism. Prism is another tool, survey tool within the EPAM, which is a part of Delivery Central and again part of the ecosystem. We are integrating our features like a feedback diagram, which we are using to build the end-to-end process with the activities, failure rates, the lead time, and everything else. We are integrating ROI tool and again to the ecosystem. So we are using all the opportunities that we have in EPAM, first of all, to communicate with all knowledgeable people, with all the disciplines in the competency centers. We are communicating with the people who are responsible for the tooling within the EPAM to integrate our tools to this ecosystem. And of course, we are looking to the market, what the kind of trends we have there. But the AI was just an example. And right now, we already have this approach, surveys, measurability, measure productivity, measure performance, measure adoption, how good at that, measure AI impact at every stage of the software development process, at every stage from the requirements gathering to the production. So we are developing this framework that we can use to share with our clients, to communicate with them, and of course, teach them, coach them, train them. And of course, that will be beneficial both for us and for our customers. That's very briefly. I just tried to answer really very briefly. Alexander, if you have something, let's join to me.
Actually, there is pretty much nothing to add to your speech, and I would like to mention the only one additional channel. This is our genius engineers across the EPAM who time to time bring new ideas to us and recommend something to try to experiment or to implement as new standards. Recently, we had good sessions with our DevOps guys, and they brought a lot of new trends related to development operations, and this is a way how you can influence on EngX framework and the EngX certification process. So that's why if you have some ideas, if you have some concerns, please let us know. Please share the information with Grigory or me, or just send an email to askengx@epam.com.
Yeah, Nikita, and if I may add one point, look, the whole discussion today we had, like, it's about or around technology. That was a kind of technical, or was about the framework we have, like the unit tests, the ROI, delivery pipeline.
Unit test is a holy war, you know.
Yeah, like this. But when we are talking about the engineering excellence, it's not only about this part of the, like, it's not only me or Sasha. No, there's a lot of the people. There's a
it's also me here.
Yeah, there is an engineering excellence education program, recreational program, culture. It means that when we go somewhere and assess something, and we understand that there is some gaps in the processes, and we measure them in time and money, and tell the client you are losing this time and you are losing this money, and you need to invest this small amount, and your impact will be huge. But in addition to that, we also provide them information. Look, we are recommending you do the following things: 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. If we are jointly working with the EngX education program, we can tell them, look, guys, you can fix 1 and 2, but for 3, 4, and 5, you don't have enough skills, because we assess your skills as well. We look at the engineering culture and recreational demand. If you are looking to this situation from this perspective, we can understand that your teams are not communicating well. You are like a world standard processes, everything is fine, but your culture is a mess. Like, you are not communicating to each other, you are not working to each other, people are working alone and don't want to be part of something big, let's say. So engineering excellence is not only to assess the processes, the testing, the architecture, the engineering or agile. No, it's assess the people and the system as well. The skills, the communication, the decision-making process. So, and imagine that we can combine everything together and can tell them, from engineering excellence perspective, you have this list of the issues. You have these necessary skills to fix your issues for yourself, but you need additionally those people and this learning program, and you need this community to build our people around, so you can make a success and make a success story for your organization and your team. Yeah, just last words from my side.
Okay, so let me try to summarize a little bit, because we've talked too much here. So the idea behind the engineering excellence is that we're basically so the demands of the software engineering industry are really evolving, and they are moving pretty quickly. But the main problems, the main pillars of the software engineering remains the same. It just brings us a bit of new taste of some of the practices. For example, as we can see in AI, right? So we have the generative tools, but at the same time, you can't skip code quality and stuff like that. So I'm talking about the things that will remain the same, and the things that will remain the same like 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Because those were the problems that people encountered with on the factories like tens of years ago. So basically they are projected in the software engineering right now. So the problems are the same, and there is not always much to update to get to the evolving demands. And at the same time, so demands are evolving sometimes so quickly that not all the companies are just able to pick them up. So I can just summarize what we
thank you. Great summarization. Great summarization.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. So first of all, Grigory, Alexander, thank you for your time. It was great. We had a holy war on unit tests. We discussed like really a lot of practices and things. So I want to thank you for your time and see you on the fields of EPAM like later. So you guys can drop your thank you in the chat or just like our video if you're watching it on YouTube or our other platforms. We would be very grateful for you. So Alexander, Grigory, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, great day. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too.
Yeah.
I have the last announcement that right after the event that we had right now, so probably in 4 minutes already, there is a Cozy Juicy Reel board game that you can scan the code and play, and I can code too. So this is another game. I would recommend the second one personally. This is very subjective, but I would go there. So just scan the QR code and here we go. So thank you, everyone. I wish you to have a great Friday and see ya.